Okay, we're going to be looking at solving formulas today. And problem number 1 here, I'm going to be solving for t. So there's two things going on with this t. It's being squared and it's also being multiplied by a k. So we have to take care of both of those things. So I'm going to start off by dividing by k on both sides of my equation. And when I do, I can cancel the k's out here. I'm going to switch sides. So I have t squared equals d divided by k. Now what I want to do is take the square root of both sides. So I get t equals positive or negative the square root of d divided by k. Now, that seems like that's a perfectly fine answer, but my math lab wants you to rationalize the denominator. So what we're going to have to do is use our rules of radicals, and we're going to break this up into the square root of d divided by the square root of k, and rationalize my denominator, multiply numerator and denominator by square root of k. And that will give me t equals positive or negative the square root of dk divided by k. Okay, problem number 2, we are solving for d. Notice there's two things going on here with this t. First of all, it's being squared, and the second thing we need to notice that it's also in the denominator. So I got to take care of both of those things. And the first thing I'm going to do is get it out of the denominator. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by d squared. And that will cancel the d squareds out over here on the right-hand side. So I have d squared times r equals k. I'm going to get rid of that r. So notice that it is being multiplied, so I need to do the inverse of multiplication, which is division. So divide both sides by r. That cancels. So d squared equals k divided by r. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So d equals positive and negative square root of k divided by r. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to come up here. And I'm going to rewrite this as the square root of k divided by the square root of r. And then that will allow me to rationalize my denominator. So I have positive and negative the square root of kr divided by r. Okay, problem 3 is very similar to problem 2. I need to get rid of the squared here, and I also need to get the v out of the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by v squared. And on the left-hand side, I have v squared times w. On the right-hand side, the v squareds cancel. And now I need to get rid of the w, so divide both sides of my equation by w. And I'm dividing because that's the inverse of multiplication, right? The w is being multiplied here by that v squared. And to undo that, I'm going to do the inverse of multiplication, which is division. So that cancels. So v squared equals k f r divided by w. And I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Now, when I do, I'm going to go ahead and save myself a step here. And I'm going to go ahead and write this as the square root of the numerator divided by the square root of the denominator, because I know I'm going to have to rationalize my denominator. So multiply numerator and denominator by square root of w. So I have positive and negative, the square root of k, f, r, w. All of that is divided by w. Okay, problem 4, we're solving for e, so I want you to pause the video and see if you can do that one on your own. Okay, and there's your answer for problem number 4. Okay, with problem 5, we are going to be solving for h. And what you need to notice here is that the h is under that square root sign, so we got to get it out of the radical sign. So we need to do the inverse of taking the square root, which is squaring. So I am going to square both sides of my equation. And then on the left-hand side, I will have d squared. On the right-hand side, the square and square roots are going to cancel. So that will leave me with k times h. Now I need to get rid of the k. It's being multiplied, so I do the inverse of multiplication, which is division. So divide there. And you have h equals d squared divided by k. Problem 6, I'm going to be solving for d. I've got two things going on here. I've got the d in the denominator, and I also have it under the square root sign. So I can deal with those in either order. I'm going to try to get that out of the denominator for my first step. So I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by my denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by square root of d. That way the square root of d's will cancel over here on the right-hand side. Now on the left-hand side, I still have the square root that I'm dealing with, and I have that f that I'm dealing with. That f is being multiplied. I'm going to start there. I'm going to divide both sides of my equation by f, so that will cancel. So I have the square root of d equals k divided by f. And then I'm going to square both sides, so I end up with k squared divided by f squared. Okay, problem 7, I'm going to be solving for a, so I need to get that out from under that square root sign. So I'm going to square both sides. D squared equals 4a divided by pi. I'm going to get rid of the pi, and then I'm going to get rid of the 4. Now you could do it in one step if you wanted to. I think it will make more sense if I do it one step at a time. Multiplying both sides by pi, I have pi times d squared equals 4a. Then I can divide both sides of my equation by 4. The 4's cancel. So a equals pi d squared divided by 4. Okay, problem number 8, you're going to be solving for p. I want you to try to do this one on your own, so pause the video and then come back and check your answer. And here is your answer.